Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Debate Hub. I am Chesh, your master debater, and I'm here. I've got Dr. Kip and I've got David with me, and I'm very, very excited. I think this might be the first time these two have been on a stream together, and I'm just a happy little gabo over here, just like, look at me. I'm a helper, guys. How are you? How you doing? Let's get Dr. Kip go first, then David.
All right. I'm doing well. It's 29 degrees today, so that's awesome.
It's summertime where you are, David. How are
Right?
you?
Yeah.
It's also warm here,
Man, it's just
so
me. I
I'm
should.
happy.
Oh, so you've got
It's
nice weather,
just you.
and you've got
Yeah,
nice weather, and
it's
I'm
just been
sitting in the
gorgeous.
So I'm just it's just me sitting in the
Yeah.
piss rain. Well, all right. We have one East Coasterner. We have one Prairie Westerner. I'm from Ontario. Things have been kind of crazy after the election. If you were watching during the election, I was busy screaming at Nazis. We should congratulate the Liberals on what is a historic election turnaround, regardless of how I feel
That's
about it.
true.
So congratulations to them, but why don't we get Dr. Kip's thoughts, because I know David was there for that. So if we can get Dr. Kip's thoughts on the election overall, about how you feel about it, and then we can kind of jump off from there and start talking a little bit about the conservative tears that are currently drowning in.
Oh, um, I feel okay
Mhm.
about it.
All right.
So I am I'm generally happy with the results.
Mhm.
I think it's probably a good thing that we're heading into a minority government. And I'm cautiously optimistic about at least the next year or two, or however long it takes them to insist we have to do this again.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page. I think I was definitely sitting on the line of I'm bothered by the amount of people that don't think Nazis are a dividing line here. But I think overall the getting a minority government instead of a majority government I think is better in the long term, in my humble opinion. Now after I'm done screeching at Nazis. David, what do you think?
Oh boy. I think I agree. I think that Carney is so he may not be progressive in the same ways that I would maybe want in an ideal situation, but we're not in an ideal situation, and I think that he's largely
We
kind of
are
the man at
not.
the moment. Um, I think as also bad as it is for the or NDP to get gutted as bad as they did. Because it's just barely a minority, it does allow them to have some influence as a coalition. And so they, even though they're small, their voice will still somewhat matter. And I think that that's important too.
Yeah. So I think the overall vibe is probably at least headed in the right direction as far as everybody in here is currently concerned. But when it comes to all right, what about the nuance? What about the details? How are we feeling about what happened to Polyev losing his seat?
I'm
I
sorry,
thought it
what's
was
nuance?
hilarious.
What's
That's is that still a thing?
here it is.
I hate the fact that the party leaders are allowed to just take a mulligan on this sort of thing and go find a palatable riding to go do it again. I think that's bullshit. But you know, it's a fun look.
It would be funny if he loses again. I think what Bruce Fanjoy did needs to be studied by the Liberals and by the NDP, and the NDP, in my opinion, should take the lead in these heftily
Take that.
blue areas where they actually have a stronger foothold than the Liberals, and see the Liberals and the opposition have the opposition change for the Conservative to the NDP. And every time that they try to put Polyev in somewhere where they go to try to shove him in, they should get like a Bruce Fanjoy to just like flip it. Bully that man. Do it. That's just my
It's a
opinion though.
good plan. It's a good plan.
What are you guys thinking so far of the whining and crying and moaning that's been going on?
I mean, yeah, I think that it's indicative of a much larger problem that we have in not just this country, but in many countries around the world right now.
Yeah.
Where we're kind of in sort of this post-truth era for certain people.
Mm-hmm.
And it really doesn't come down to if your arguments are strong or if you know what you're talking about or any of that at this point. What it comes down to is which reality does the person you're speaking to occupy? Because oftentimes they are not the same reality anymore. And like way more frequently, part of this is social media siloing. Part of this is just shit news sources posting propaganda, like has been pointed out by you, Jess. And until we find a way to address that and come back to some semblance of what shared reality is, at least on a fundamental basics level, then winning elections isn't going to matter much to these people. You're just going to have people that just create their own thing, right? And I don't know how you fix that without addressing that underlying very big problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think this is a part of what's happening, and David pointed this out, and I think it's important, is that there is a general shift, excuse me, not just in this country or in the United States, but also in Europe. In
Yes.
multiple places, there is a movement to the right pretty aggressively, and I think a lot of this is a lot of what accompanies that is this strong sense of entitlement that we're seeing on display in terms of, you know, what the reactions are.
I
think the other
that,
problem is
sorry,
we
go
have.
ahead.
I think the other problem is that we have alleged thought leaders that are like really fueling conspiracy theories and like
Mm.
legitimizing fringe ideas to an astonishing degree. Now, you said this is also happening in Europe, and I have a quote. It's an interesting response that I saw a friend of mine from Europe post when he was talking to. It was just a few months back. Sort of one of these anti-vax people that was coming in
Mm.
to declare victory on some minor point of contention. And I think that this quote by them kind of encapsulates the kind of person that we're dealing with. He said, at the start of this whole thing, it was a hoax, but then it also wasn't a hoax. But it was no worse than the flu, or it was worse than the flu, but you could fix it by drinking lots of Schweppes tonic water. Or it was a hoax because it was actually caused by 5G, which is a kill grid. Then lockdowns were never going to end, and then we're only going to get worse until they ended, when there would be a Chinese social credit score system. Then it was going to be okay because of hydroxychloroquine was a miracle cure that was being covered up, not for getting zinc, vitamin D, maintaining a balanced bodily pH level, and a healthy heart field. Then vaccinations were going to turn us all into pigs so that we were no longer had human rights or contained microchips that allowed our bodies to be taken over and controlled by the 5G that was also a kill network, which was going to make us Bluetooth functional, magnetic, and turn us all into zombies when they broadcast the emergency signal that was going to give us all vaccine-induced AIDS. Not that that really matters, because it was going to kill us all after 3 weeks, 3 months, by next summer, by next winter, by next summer, 2 to 3 years, or in the next 5 years. Anyway, I'm willing to bet that you've heard all of the above, bought into and repeated almost all of it, or not objected to any of it. So don't dare come good pretending that your bullshit has been vindicated, which I think fundamentals is the type of people we're dealing with on a political level too. Because if you look at a lot of these people that are voting, they were the truckers that were protesting this kind of shit in the first place, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's relevant.
Yeah, the level of insanity, and like at that point, I don't know any other word for it. It's like it's lunacy. It doesn't make any sense. There's no logical consistency. There's no through line. It is just we're just gonna say whatever we can to flood the zone, and when we flood the zone, it forces people to talk about it. So that way, we're not talking about things that actually matter.
Just honestly,
And
it
yeah,
just reminds me so much of Christian apologetics bullshit that I encounter on a regular basis. You just the tactic is to just throw whatever you can
Mhm.
at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how stupid or idiotic or untrue it is. It's just whatever resonates, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of
yeah,
it is also like very much part of it comes from like people being dissatisfied, but half of people being dissatisfied in like whatever's going on in their life, whatever's going on with
Yeah.
like their socioeconomic status, which is a worldwide struggle right now, not just a local struggle, but people view it through the lens of just their own experience on top of like people that are purposefully going out of their way to make the problem and then pointing at other people saying they're making the problem and we're actually the ones that can fix it. So just as an example, New Brunswick has this issue where, and it's not just New Brunswick, Ontario has this problem too, where they don't have enough hospitals, or they don't have enough room in their hospitals, or they don't have enough nurses in their hospitals, they don't have enough doctors in their hospitals. But that's provincial funding. But you have political pundits pointing at the federal government instead of the provincial government. And then the federal government says, well, we gave you a bunch of money. Where is it? And then the provincial government says, actually, our province isn't in a deficit because we never used that money that was supposed to be used for our hospital. But our hospitals are bad and it's the federal government's fault. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? It doesn't make. I can't. Or no. You want another example? There's a lot of people in Saskatchewan and a lot of people in Alberta right now that are very fucking upset, and they're upset for good reasons. Right? There are good, very, very good reasons why people out in the prairie should be angry. Right? Their healthcare is going to shit. Their socioeconomic status is bad. They had children with cancer getting their snacks taken away by the provincial government. They had the municipalities that are going bankrupt. They have, so like the police aren't getting paid, the fire department's not getting paid, the infrastructure's not getting built, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're sitting there being like, why doesn't the federal, they've got cities burning down. And they're like, we're very upset. We should have money. Why don't we have money? Why is Ottawa doing this to us? But it's not Ottawa doing it to them. They're right to be mad, but that anger is being directed by the people who are the ones doing it to them. They've been voting Conservative forever, and the Conservatives have been driving them into the ground. How do you talk to somebody like that?
That's true.
Because they're right. They're right to be angry.
No, it's my brother lives in Okotoks, just south of Calgary, and and this is very much his frustration, and what's kind of motivating and driving him. And I think there's I think he moved back maybe 5 years ago, and hadn't lived in Calgary in Canada for nearly 20 years.
That's a while.
So, right? And for him, he's got these, he's got these nostalgic connections to, this quaint little city from the 1980s that is just, it's not the same anymore at all, right? Yeah. And he's struggling with that. And it's too crowded, there's too much traffic, everything's falling apart. You get it. You totally get it.
The romanticized past as well. Things were better back when X, Y, and Z, and then
right. I think everything was better when we were like 19 years old, right?
Sure.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean,
yeah,
part
but
of that...
how much of that was that it was better, and how much of it was that we were just not paying attention to the things that were bad,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
You're worried about traffic, but at the same time, you've got things that are better and things that are worse. But if you have a socioeconomic scenario where you have your provincial government literally selling you out to corporations, yeah, of course things are bad. Yeah. But if you then let the people who are doing that direct your anger away from them, the people that are actually responsible, to cause massive division across the country, to the point where right now Danielle Smith is trying to absolutely just shit on treaties with First Nations people from before Canada was Canada. It's like, it's insanity.
Yep. You're not wrong. I mean, I think that there's ways of talking once you establish first, is the person living in reality, which I think is like really the baseline, right? Because if somebody's
You need a
so
starting
far
point,
gone,
yeah.
you need a starting point, right? Like figure out where they stand on a couple of key issues. And if they're like, if they seem confusingly still conservative or still supporting these things in spite not being crazy about everything else, then I think maybe you have a starting point of a conversation. And a lot of it comes down to people like to assume that they know how things work, but they don't necessarily, right? Like they don't know the details. They just have this sort of fluffy idea of how things work and who's responsible for what. And I don't think that they dig into it. And I think sometimes with some people that are more reasonable, if you just say like, okay, well, who do you think is responsible for that thing that you're like, you should be legitimately mad for, and see if they can answer, right? Like, and say like, you know, not just like who you're mad at, like who is responsible, like what is the name of the person in your district, in your area that's in control of the decisions that impact that thing in your life.
Half the time you're getting people responding to that with Justin Trudeau, and it's like, that dude is not even in Parliament right now.
but then you know something that you can legitimately address. If you can show them that they're wrong about that, they may say, okay, well, who is actually doing this thing, right? Because a lot of the time they have no idea, right? And I've gotten through to some people who've realized they just didn't understand how the system worked, but they accepted something because they thought that they should, because people that they thought would be responsible would tell the truth. There were some people in the States that were really diehard Trump supporters that I know that no longer support him over tariffs because they legitimately believed what he said about tariffs, and they didn't know how tariffs worked, right? And it took concretely showing them and talking to them with other people in shipping and whatnot to be like, yeah, that's not what a tariff is. And when they realized they were duped, they started questioning everything else. And I think like finding that starting point where somebody can say, even if it's not in a like they have to admit that they're some terrible person or whatever, just find something that they can admit, I've got this wrong or I don't know it yet, because at least you can start from there. But that's hard to find sometimes, to be fair.
Yeah, I think there might be a category error going on. Like a full-on proper category error. So I'm gonna float this, and you guys tell me if my spaghetti is sticking to the wall here. If you
like a good Christian apologist.
Like a good Christian apologist. So if you're talking to somebody and you're talking like let's specifically talk about Alberta. Let's talk about Danielle Smith, because I think she's probably one of the most egregious right now. And this is disregarding Polyev refusing to let go of his seat. We can talk about that later because it's really funny. But if you're talking to somebody who is a conservative person, I find that if you're not talking about party lines and you're just talking about policy or things that they want to see, they are not Danielle Smith conservative. They're not. They don't want the things that she's doing. They just don't know she's the one doing the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Or they just don't realize it's the conservatives that are doing that. They think these things that they don't want that the conservatives are doing to them is actually being done to them by either other provinces, which is a interesting concept, but maybe not totally wrong, but also like it's very divisive, but also that the people that are doing this to them is the federal liberal government, which does not make any sense if you have any idea how long the conservatives have been in control of Alberta. So, for example, if you were to say, hey, listen, these guys, these people, this Danielle Smith is telling you to vote for her, saying she's going to fix your problems, she'll definitely fix them this time, and she and her constituents have been in power for years, and they haven't fixed a single thing. In fact, things have gotten worse. are you sure you want to vote for them? And I really do think it's a category error. These people think Danielle Smith is a conservative, but she's actually a right-wing wingnut. Like,
Look, they don't.
does my spaghetti stick?
Yeah.
But it sticks to the same problem. It sticks to the same problem, right? Like, look, we had when literally the same fucking people, largely, because a lot of people from out west showed up in Ottawa and shut the whole city down during the pandemic over restrictions they blamed Trudeau for that weren't even in Canada. They were U.S. policies they were protesting. And they didn't even understand who was in charge of the thing that they were mad about, right? And this is the same issue we're seeing with these things on a local level at every level of government. They have somebody who's willing to point at an enemy and say, blame this person for all of your problems because they're a liberal or they're brown or they're some other thing that you aren't. And so just be mad at them and don't look at what I'm doing. And people are all too happy to take somebody they don't like and blame them for everything. And
well, even anytime I've had anybody in my chat who comes in as a conservative coming in here, they can never actually talk about the issue. It is always some kind of detraction. It is always some kind of conspiracy theory. It is always some kind of random, stupid insult that doesn't make any sense because they cannot have a conversation about the topic. We're sitting talking about what the conservatives have been doing in Alberta. We're sitting here talking about what Danielle Smith is doing in particular. We're being incredibly kind to the people thinking X, Y, and Z. And the answer is Carney is Trump's boy. Like, so what if he is? That's not what we're talking about. It doesn't make any sense. There's no through line. It's just propaganda. It's just bots. NPC.
A lot of it
NPC
is
energy.
probably bots that are part of this problem, actually, right?
NPC
like there is obviously whatever the source is, there is obviously the spread of a monumental amount of disinformation. And there seems to be people like the Jordan Petersons and these people that have some perceived degree of respectability amongst the people who like them, who seem to want to amplify this shit. And regardless of where it comes from, the problem is that it appears to be effective with enough people to cause a problem.
It's a social media. There's a really big social media problem.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts? You're out west. Do you have any thoughts on the separatist Danielle Smith conservative flooding of tears that's happening?
I honestly, I've been avoiding it, so I haven't.
You've been avoiding it? Yeah, fair.
I haven't wanted to read so much of it. All I have to say is Danielle Smith is sad.
She is very sad. Yeah. She's very upset.
She's very sad.
She's throwing a bit of a tantrum. It's okay. She can throw the tantrum in Mar-a-Lago.
I mean, that's the next stop, right?
She's got to go back. Mar-a-Lago part 3. That's a third time going. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, well, I don't know. I think that there are legitimate concerns out west. Do you guys agree with that? That there's legitimate concerns that people have?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Everybody has legitimate concerns, though.
Nah.
Yes. But it's a lot of, I mean, it continues to be a lot of the same sort of stuff that we grew up thinking and believing, you know, from when I was like a teenager and a young adult. Just that people continue to get frustrated by a perceived power imbalance living out in the prairies.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's an easy way to fuel resentment and to promote some of these bad ideas.
Extremist positions, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I would agree. Do you think that there
doesn't change?
I think that there is a little bit of power imbalance, but I don't think the power imbalance is coming from the other provinces, and I don't think the power imbalance is coming from the federal government. I think the power imbalance is coming from the Conservative Party selling out the people who live there.
Yeah.
Over a long period of time.
Right.
So I think that they feel that way, and it's fair.
I agree that they feel that way, and I agree that they have problems, but the problem is in spite of their problems, what they seem not to have is any balls, because, like, I'm in the Maritimes. We had plenty of fucking problems and have over the years, right? It's not like it's not known that there's like it's the poor part of Canada where all the stupid movies are at, even when you're in fucking Nova Scotia, right? That's the side where everybody's fucking like trying to struggle through a dying fishing industry because people can't keep up the bullshit. Where there's fucking still sky high rents and all the other fucking problems and bullshit. And not once do I hear anybody, hey, let's chop off and merge with Maine, right? Like, because they had the balls to say, yeah, we got problems, we'll deal with them. Let's fix them. Not like, oh, well, let's just be our own thing where we won't. You're the problems. If you go be your own thing, you're taking the problems with you because they're coming from inside the house.
Yeah, I think recognizing that some of the problems are in fact coming from inside the house are like if you keep voting for the person who keeps punching you in the face, well, they're telling you somebody else is actually punching you in the face, and then you continue to vote for them, being like, "Hey, you have this really swollen face. We're gonna help you with that." Pop, like and you get to the point where as not a prairie person looking in, it feels a little silly. Right, like it feel like there are parts of this separatist idea that feel this feels like a little bit of a tantrum, and that's not to say that your feelings aren't valid, and that's not to say that you don't have legitimate problems that can be, because they're fixable problems. A lot of these problems are fixable, doable, workable problems, but you will notice that the politicians that are currently in power are not talking about solutions to those problems. They're simply pointing fingers and creating division to try to take advantage of it.
Yep.
That's just my opinion. I don't know. I don't know all of their problems, right? I'm not trying to assume.
Could you think though, like, in spite being very annoyed, obviously, at a number of things, I think that you still kind of have to approach and try to find that common ground if we're going to get through to people and have them try to want to do different things. I think part of that is like we need to look at like what's good long term, not just like what's good for me right now, tomorrow. And there's like a lot of long term issues that we have to deal with, be it like massive changes in industry due to like changing technology that we're going to have to adapt to, right? That's going to displace a full ton of jobs. It's going to do all sorts of things. Like that is going to impact everybody. We should be planning for that, right? We should be looking at these things, not worrying about like who hates who about this person said a social identity thing that I disagree with and it makes me feel weird. So let's focus on that and none of the very real things that are coming to fuck us if we continue to do nothing about them. And
yeah, there's a lot of conservative identity politics. A lot of conservative identity politics.
But I think that there's things that we can agree with, and I think that if we don't, eventually there are things that we will be forced to agree with, but it's gonna hurt way more when that time comes if we don't like plan for it now. And maybe like we could say this about climate change, right? Now that's hard because again, there's a bunch of people that have bought into a bunch of crazy bullshit, and it's very hard to see it coming, and it's easy because it's very slow. But something like AI, that's something that maybe we could agree on, because that's moving pretty fast and people can see it, right? And, that doesn't take conservatism to fix. That takes progress in a new direction and forward-thinking ideas. And that's not something that the conservatives are talking about. They're talking about the same shit they always do. Whose tax can be cut today? And, like, it's short-term. Let's make promises that don't even really make sense, that don't even bet, like you pointed out, 2% cut. What the fuck is that going to do for anybody?
Right.
like on what part of, how much money do you already have to make for a 2% cut to be something a substantial amount of money? Because I'm guessing at that point you probably didn't need the cut. So it's it's sad that this is where we're at, and that there's a little like pocket of people who have convinced themselves everybody else around them must be wrong, and they're just not looking outside of where they're at. I guess that's how it seems, right? It's very inward view, and But look out a bit. Get out, travel, see the world. No.
I don't know. I think there's a lot to it, but let's shift. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's head back to we're gonna go into Polyev.
Oh, okay.
All right.
That was a turn. I thought you were turning into Optimus Prime for a second.
Yeah,
I
no,
thought
it
so
was.
too, actually. It was. It sounded like it.
Let's go.
Now I'm a robot. Sorry.
So, beep boop, scooby doop boop. No, I gotta go into robot mode when we're talking about Polyev, because he is very much just a normal person. Did you guys know his name is Jeff?
Jeff.
Really?
His his birth name is Jeff.
No.
So for somebody who hates trans people, I feel like I've just been calling him Jeff. But apparently that is still a name that he actually goes by, because his mother named him Jeff, then he was adopted, and then his parents francophoned his name a little bit, and then he francophoned his when he became party leader, he francophoned his last name more. But
I didn't know this.
Just to sound more French.
But
Sacre bleu.
according to his Pepe Le Pew, oui, oui, oui. So according to Wikipedia, he still does go by Jeff. So it's not like it's a total dead name or something for him. He still goes by Jeff. So that's very funny. So fucking Jeff Polyev
who's not lying to.
Yeah. So Jeff over here, fucking, so he lost his seat, right? He got trounced. Like, he didn't even lose by a little bit. He lost by, like, a lot. And so he does not seem like he's letting go of being the party leader. So let's get Dr. Kip go first, and you can what do you think? What are you thinking?
Well, it's a clear indictment, right? Where it just but this is part of but when people start to buy into cults of personality, and because I think that's part of what's going on with him is I
don't believe you. You need to have a personality for that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a robot personality. It clearly
suppose
didn't work. But how do you like you seriously have to how inward focused do you have to be to think that after like such a trouncing, as Chesh put it, that it's the best thing for you to keep
Yeah,
going
it's the bro. I'm
and
never
leading
gonna
the party.
recover from this.
Right? Like, but I don't.
David, what do you think?
You go. I hope that his stupid face gets left right out of politics, so I don't have to see him on my TV or on the internet or in my memes anymore.
He really is a strange looking man.
Who was the other politician that ended up just being a picture of a flip-flop? I literally don't even remember his face now.
It's
just
about
a shoe.
Shady Vance?
It's just no, a Canadian guy.
The flip-flop. Okay.
Was it shoe or was it the? I don't know. All I know is in my head, he's now a shoe, and I'm like, and
Canadian politics are weird.
I wish.
Yes.
I wish who wanted to be I wish him the fucking same fate in my mind's eye in the future. So that's what I fucking know.
I think, okay, maybe I'm I think he's cooked. Like, I think Polyev is absolutely cooked. However, I think he's gonna be like a well-done steak that sits on the table that nobody wants to eat, and it's gotten all cold, and it kind of like is really tough, and it's like way overcooked, it's way overdone. It's not charcoal yet, but it's just kind of gross, and nobody's gonna take him off the table, so he's just gonna be there, because he's like...
He's gonna be like the Nigel Farage of Canadian politics. Who just sits there, right?
I think he's got his little claws in being like he's so tied, like his personality has become so
Yeah.
tied to being the party leader, and that's like that's his identity in his own head. But also like I just
Yes.
can't imagine him like willingly releasing power, because I think if he does, he's like he might legally be cooked, like the same way that Trump not winning, Trump needing to be in a position of power means that like he doesn't go to jail kind of thing, even though he should clearly be not pass and go and he should be clearly not collecting $200. Because if he gets like if
That's a good point.
Polyev gets investigated in some kind of capacity, like if they force him to be like if they change the law right now in the law you don't have to get your as party leader, you do not have to get your security clearance. But if they change that law, which they should do, and they have the pretty good chance of changing that law with a 169 and a 22 in the block and 7 in the NDP, because everybody will vote for that shit because everybody hates Polyev.
Yeah.
So and so if they change that law and they force him to get it and he gets like indicted or something like comes up, like he can lose his pension. He like and he's already going to be evicted from his house, the mansion that we all pay for that he lives in. So like what the fuck?
Storm away. That's
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah. Good God.
Yeah. Wow.
Like I honestly think that he doesn't want to get let go of power because I think he could get in too much trouble if he doesn't have it anymore.
No, it's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that. But,
I'm speculating. I might not be right. That's speculation on my part. But like he's handed out too many donuts to Nazis. Yeah, not wrong.
You could argue.
Nope.
Could argue that really the problem is he hasn't handed out enough donuts to Nazis, because then we would have a better argument. We could be like, look, that's just far too many donuts, right? If there was more, right?
You gotta fix your audio. You're getting those bubbles, man. I hissed at you, but you didn't hear me. Bro, you got bubbles.
Okay, one sec.
I believe in
I don't
you.
know why that is. I will switch my
If-
audio.
It's better now.
It sounds better when he's like directly in and projecting, but when he's not,
Yeah.
it's like
No, I'm
clipping.
wearing earbuds right now, so
What?
it's the earbuds doing that.
Oh, that sucks. Alex in the chat has a question that I'm gonna bring up because we take questions here, and they said if Polyev if Jeff loses his pension, then will he have to get a real job? The other question is, will he be able to get a real job, or will he be in prison? I don't know. He would have to break the law, I think, to lose his pension.
He'd go on tour with Jordan Peterson.
Right, I am waiting.
Yes.
His next job
Exactly.
is 100% going to be on the
Yep.
Daily Wire. There's no
On the
way
Daily
it's not.
Wire.
Yep.
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 He's gonna. He's.
It'll
he's
just
going
be-
to-
Yeah.
He'll become a producer for the new Snow White movie.
Is he going to be a dwarf because
fucking
he's going to
that
finally have to
Dracula
take out the
looking-
lifts on his shoes?
Kermit sounding, pill popping, can't keep his own damn room clean, opinionated fuck Peterson, probably.
Tell us how you really feel. Yo, nobody likes that guy. Nobody in Canada fucking likes that guy, dude. There's a reason he ran away to the States, because nobody likes him
but
here.
This is the problem. There's a lot of people actually still do.
Yeah.
They actually.
A lot of the
Yeah,
right
I
wingers do.
know. It's fucking
It's tragic.
sad.
So that was it crushed my soul.
Yeah.
Last month or
Is the
6
audio
weeks
better
ago
now,
when
by the way? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think so. It crushed my soul 6 weeks ago when my brother actually asked me if I'd ever heard of this guy, Jordan B. Peterson, before.
No.
I know, right? I'm like, where the fuck have you been, dude?
I would have screamed.
And yeah, yeah. I wanted to, but yeah. He maintains some notoriety, positive
Yeah.
notoriety in some circles.
Unfortunately.
The West Huffs and the Apologetics Canada people certainly like him quite a lot. So
Jordan Peterson is my trigger word. that dude. Okay, so before Jordan Peterson went to go into a coma in Russia and then come back, he used to make my skin crawl. Then after his coma and he came back, I was just like, he doesn't have the same effect anymore.
Jordan Peterson.
I don't know what happened.
Like, Jordan Peterson trigger word. It's gonna be my safe word.
Immediately flaccid. Everything off. Good God.
Right, just like...
I've been suggesting that we replace Jeff with another Jeff. Do you guys have any suggestions on another Jeff that we could replace Polyev with?
Yeah, I think it should just be a picture of a spoon.
Who named it Jeff?
With a name tag that says
Sporky.
Jeff.
Porky?
Just kind of looks like...
No,
just like one of
Sporky,
those
the-
little
Sporky.
Mormon... Like a Mormon missionary name
Story
tag that
oh.
says Jeff in a suit with a
there you go.
spoon head.
Does
To go alongside the flip-flop, I think we should make all these
No.
fucks inanimate objects.
you know what? I don't think that's a terrible idea. Having politicians not be real people might actually be.
I mean, they
like-
aren't already, right? It's just
Right.
It's just completing. It's just completing the inevitable.
fucking absurd. I don't know. But okay, so we've covered separatism. We've covered Polyev. Do you think that he's going to get another, like, I know that somebody's probably going to give their seat up for him. Do you think he'll actually win the by-election? Or do you think Carney or the Liberals will pause and delay the by-election for as long as possible?
I mean, they
Well,
could do a number of
I think-
things to...
But will they?
I think that Carney, being new to politics, will do probably the statesmanly thing and try to appear as though they are not vindictive with the other team and they're willing to work together. And
Mhm.
I think that just like every time that the left does this for the right, it will bite the liberals in the ass in the long run by not just standing their ground and being like, no. But I think he'll do it. And I think if he didn't do it, then it would just validate the shit that people already claim on that side and entrench them further. So he's kind of in a lose-lose situation anyway.
I've got a tweet here that says that is like conservatives freaking out and already starting to do like crazy conspiracy theories. And it says, breaking, sources are hinting that the Liberal Party is trying to convince NDP MPs to cross the floor to form a majority government. The Liberals are only 3 seats shy of a majority, and today the NDP MP didn't rule out this idea. We are screwed, absolutely screwed.
Nice.
Well, there could be the Bloc too, to be honest. Like, people are focusing on the NDP, but the Bloc is still right there, and the Bloc fucking hates Polyev.
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
absolutely
But
hate that man.
Does this potentially, like, is this potentially maybe the best place for him? I mean, just because of how unpopular he is.
Mhm.
He's in he's the leader of the opposition.
Yeah.
Which means he can't do much except bitch,
Yeah.
right? On the
Uh-huh.
floor all day long.
Yeah.
Is that going to drive the popularity of the party further into the ground?
Okay, so, alright, hear me out. This is something that I find absolutely fascinating. So, there are people, like voters, who like Polyev, but they seem to just be the core conservative voters that are really only voting for him because he's conservative. Or you have the other half that are like these rabid right-wing extremists. Those are your really only 2 groups. And the core conservatives don't really like him. And the more that they hear him talk, the more that they dislike him, mostly because he's just a gigantic asshole. So, on top of that, you have this other problem where nobody in Parliament likes him. So like no MP seat likes him, no Liberal seat likes him, the Bloc fucking hate him, the Green Party don't like him, and half of his own fucking party that are holding seats right now don't fucking like him. So even if he is there and they let him be there, he's gonna get dicked on by Sean Fraser more, which I'm here for. I'm gonna watch that. That's funny as fuck.
Yes, exactly.
But then and you're 100% right. The more they fucking drag his beaten body around, and the more he's got fucking Harper tied around his neck, and they're dragging that corpse around with him, all this baggage for the party is just going to drag it down over a longer period of time. Especially if the CBC suddenly gets a bunch more money, and if we start actually doing something about the propaganda. Because if we start forcing Republican or American-owned like National Post media to actually stop using Canadian names and display that they're actually American companies, and the CBC is actually given some fucking money to do its goddamn job, and it actually does a decent job, if it does that.
I think there's a silver lining here.
It seems that way. I think forcing himself around is just going to make people like him less.
Yeah, I agree.
I do think that there does need to be some kind of a concerted effort, though, to kind of root out some of the crazy disinformation that's spread around, at least, or to reintroduce nuance into things, because there's a lot of people that wouldn't vote for a Liberal and wouldn't vote for Trudeau because they believed he was part of the WEF and that was somehow like evil. Now, I mean, you could argue that there's conflicts of interest. You could say you don't agree with all their policies, or that there's issues where it becomes sort of a virtue signaling platform for corporations to pretend they're doing something when they're not. There are issues, right? But the idea is like when people quote things saying, "Wow, no one's gonna own anything, and you're gonna like it," as though this is some like forced thing, right? Is so out of context, because that's them talking about sharing autonomies like the tool library we have in the city, right? Like, we don't have to own a bunch of tools because you have access to things. We can reduce the need for like a bunch of waste, and you'll actually have more stuff than you had before. I'm cool with that in the right context. That doesn't mean you won't own anything, like that they're going to come and take your stuff. Or when they're talking about, oh, people will eat bugs and they'll like it. They're not like saying raw. They're saying like they'll make proteins out of this stuff and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And it's good in food insecure countries where they can't grow crops. Like, so,
or maybe the Beyond Meat burger is fine, and if you want to order it, you can, and if you don't want to order it, fucking don't, you weirdo.
You don't have to.
Right. You don't have to. But
I like the ideas of like forcing somebody with like pry bars tied up in a chair with their mouth open. You're just pouring just fresh bugs into their mouth, like it's fucking Fear Factor.
A funnel of critics, right? Like Joe Rogan is like the person who made people eat bugs, and they're the ones like fucking.
We live in backwards land. I don't get it. It's baffling,
right?
To me.
No, the conservative movement is just pure projection at this point.
It does feel that way.
But I think we do need to address some of this stuff so that people can know what the fuck they're talking about. Because here's the problem. If people believe scary things that aren't true, then they will vote for whoever the opposite of that is, because they'll think it's the lesser of two evils if they're convinced that the other person is the ultimate evil. And this is the issue, is it's not about policies. It's about people being convinced that this person is part of this conspiracy, or they support that thing, or they're trying to do this agenda that supports this person you don't like, or whatever. Like, it's all grievance politics, and it's ripping people apart.
I noticed this past election, in the American election, I noticed that there seemed to be a really big fundamental problem with the starting point of the conversation. So, like, people were talking about issues, not understanding that the people they were talking to were, like, you're starting here, and they're over here. And I don't mean, like, up or down. I mean, like, even if I make it left to right, it's not, like, a more or less. It's they're starting here, and you're starting over here, and you're not able to cross because you're not starting in a place that these people can understand. So like people were talking about, oh, tariffs are going to be bad and here's why there's going to be bad, and we're going to talk about this thing about the economy, and then a bunch of people were after the election googling what is a tariff. It's like, guys, we started the conversation way too far ahead. What is going on? What are we doing? So, like, I don't know. I also think that the Americans got exactly what they wanted, right? They wanted destruction. They didn't trust their government. They didn't trust the structures in place. They didn't want the status quo. They didn't want it globally, and they didn't want it nationally. And whether or not you agree with what Trump is doing and how he's going about it, he is doing exactly what he was voted in to do. Absolute just implosion.
Yeah, chillingly so. Yeah.
And it's killing people. And so,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, like
it's giving like babies AIDS and like all sort like just
cutting
shipping off
cancer treatment,
kids and,
and fucking
and like
Gestapo.
It's monstrous. It's monstrous, and the fact that anybody in Canada supports it is shocking. And I think that they need to reevaluate their moral compasses.
I just really hope that people learn from what Bruce Vanjoy was able to do, because he was able to very much do things on a grassroots level, and instead of trying to like reach for the stars and reach for like, he wasn't going for PM. Like, he wasn't going for prime minister. He was just going for this local electorate. So if we see the NDP pick up on what he did, actually propose leftist policies, and actually get in that dirt and start having those conversations, I think they could do a lot to help Albertans and help people in Saskatchewan, which are these deep, deep blue areas, swing them away and do things for Alberta that would actually be good for Alberta, because Alberta is just in a position where it doesn't want to pick anything but blue, because even though the blue is the thing fucking them in the ass right now, they think it's everybody else.
Yep. And that's
Also, I think
again,
I think
like,
they.
how do you get information to people now, though?
I understand.
another
Yeah,
thing.
that's a good point.
Like,
yeah.
because like you say, oh well, we should fix the CBC, and that's great. But do you think that they actually read it, or would if it was there, even if it was funded, or are they gonna just keep getting their news from random people on Twitter, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
That's probably true, right?
How do you actually address the problem of where do people get consistent media? And the problem legitimately becomes, and I mean, on that side, it's, you know, it's a fair criticism, is as soon as you label something like, here is where you go to get truth, and you have this sort of ministry of truth thing happening, then like, who becomes the arbiter of what true is? Because that could be bad as well, right? Like, so there, you know, there needs to be balance, but
there's this
the problem
really
is it's so fractionated and siloed, right?
I think Dr. Kipp experiences this a lot, and tell me if I'm wrong, or elaborate for me if you could. I think that there's this really big issue with this hatred of education and this pride in ignorance that is very predominant in these conspiratorial levels of thinking that we're seeing in this right-wing extremist group, which is the same in Young Earth Creationism and Flat Earth. But yeah, please elaborate.
Oh, yeah, I think that's 100% true. And I remember kind of living through this on the other side as a kid, as a teenager. The you know, the suspicion with regards that was cast upon you know, high level academics, you know, as if you what's the expression, and it's sort of a good good old boy prairie kind of ideal, that you can learn too much for your own good, right? Where you become too highly educated somehow, to the point where it interferes with your common sense, whatever that is.
Whatever that is, yeah.
So
that's for the philosophy show tomorrow.
Look
What
at
is
this
common
guy,
sense?
he fucking he done educated his way right out of bigotry. What he do?
Yeah. But this is also, I think, the fertile ground for the autodidact, right?
Oh, okay.
Which is, and I don't think, I mean, you know, I think it's a wonderful thing that that the internet has democratized education. I think it's necessary. given how much increasingly inaccessible higher education is becoming,
Yes.
especially in certain areas, right? Like everybody is now going to university to learn trades, and the humanities are dying, and the natural sciences are, inaccessible for so many people. And I think this, so I just want to qualify this right away by saying, yeah, I get it. Like I agree, and I'm happy at how much, and I'm a happy contributor too,
Right.
to trying to increase accessibility to education on the internet. But you encounter this over and over again, where, and it's not just like this isn't just a conservative issue either.
Right.
You
This is a
encounter this over and
nonpartisan
over
issue, yeah.
again. It is a nonpartisan issue on all sides. Enthusiasts who gain unearned confidence to the point of feeling like they're on the, and I think that's, it's kind of reflective of in many respects the same sort of ethos informs the media landscape, the journalistic landscape, right?
Oh,
where anybody can be a journalist now.
Yeah.
All you need is
You
a
start
microphone.
Blurring the
and-
lines between influencer and journalism is a really bad intersection, and I really
Yes,
don't like it.
and-
It's real bad.
It's
One of the
it's
things I
same-
think we
it's the
could
same
do.
thing.
Yeah.
One of the things I think we could do with education is, like, you're right that there's this fertile ground for people to go out and teach themselves and learn about all sorts of things. But if you're a learning enthusiast who hasn't learned anything yet, you don't necessarily know if the thing you're learning is bullshit. Number one, right? It might sound like it's the thing that you want to learn about, but you're getting some bullshit version of it from some crazy person before, and then you're all confused. You got to start, right? Like, but I think that what we need to do is, tell people that things like YouTube, well, they can be informative. It's not YouTube University, and like
Actually,
provide more structural alternatives. Like, I think that I haven't looked at what they're doing currently, but I think they're still around. edX.org, where they'd partnered up with tons of different universities to offer entry level like education. Usually it's one-on-one courses, some advanced stuff too, that you can do remotely. All of the courses are free, and I think that if you want a certificate or something that can count towards a credit in a later course, then you can pay for that optionally or something. But like, it's Harvard, it's the McGill, it's Stanford, it's every credible university of every topic are giving away. If you want to learn legitimately, like you're like, I want to learn about economics, or I want to learn about this thing in politics, you can go and sit in on real classes with real professors and have real tests that they evaluate you on. And, they're not huge courses. You can do them sort of at your own pace. But there's, some light work that you need to do. But, these things are available. I think we should be doing more of that. I think we should be making more of that available. Maybe using some AI stuff to help quiz and I don't know. I think that we can lean into the technology.
Hear me out a little bit. So, I don't disagree with you, but I think opening it up to more of a global option would be good. Instead of just relying on either like American schools, Canadian schools, England schools. I think we can broaden that out.
That's what edX.org is. It's all of the like all the most credible universities from all around the planet.
But now hear me out. YouTube has a verification process. Google has a lot of money. Why the fuck doesn't Google just hire a handful of educators of different topics, and if you are an educational channel, you apply, once you hit like monetization level, you fucking apply to be reviewed by a fucking educator that says, oh yeah, no, you're verified as being an account, and then they just do spot check-ins on your account every like X number of videos or live streams you do to ensure that there's like actual quality content, and you fucking make it part of the recommended. So if you're like, oh, hey, recommended, educational, and here's a bunch of fucking YouTubers that all make fucking educational content, why the fuck wouldn't you just do that?
I think you could. It's a little hard to police. You might be able to police it better. Like some of the AI stuff that they've got for sort of like evaluating content.
We're not using
like,
AI
good enough.
shit, dude. No
Yeah.
way. No, you
no,
can't
that is
use
gonna
AI.
happen.
Yeah, but I'm not saying what would
happen.
happen. I'm saying what should happen, what we can do, not
could do
fucking
both.
jerking off into the
No,
fucking
I'm
toilet of
saying-
AI.
No. I'm saying when it comes to reviewing content,
Uh-huh.
context aware, right? It used to be as simple as like it could detect a keyword that might be hateful, and then a human might go look at it if it was flagged.
Yeah,
enough, right?
if you want to have AI going through and flagging certain things
That's
to
what I'm
have
s-
them publicly, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. You can do that. I don't care about that as long as you have a person doing that.
yeah.
I don't think you
So-
would need the educator to do that. I think you need the educator to do the review, and you need the educator to do like the
Yeah.
spot checks to ensure that this person is still doing that. And
Right, and I think that AI
flags.
could point out obvious violations.
Yeah. And I think that if people are flagging the video, then those flags, if they're getting flagged for misinformation, need to be taken more seriously. But I think this
Sure.
is absolutely a thing that could happen and should really be a thing. I don't see why not. And realistically, in Canada, I think fucking Twitter needs to be banned and Facebook probably needs to be like seriously regulated because it's a fucking shit show. It's cooking.
Yep.
It's cooked.
I think one of the issues with some of the things like edX is though, those are regulated courses and whatnot, but they're not necessarily good at getting you anything, right? Like they're good at teaching you stuff, but they're not really helping you get a job for the most part. Those
Oh,
courses,
yeah, that's not what they're
'cause
for.
they're not they're not recognized. I think that we should have programs more like that for accessible higher education where it makes sense. I mean, there's some stuff I think that you have
Sure.
to do on premise or take tests or go into your local university to do something or labs or whatever. Like, but if you're like a historian or you're doing like a theory course or whatever, I think that we can teach those and have those be accredited. But we have the ability to do that at this point.
Yeah.
And make it affordable. And I think that there's other countries right now that offer, and not here, but there's other countries that offer free education to anybody who bothers to go there, even if you're not a citizen of the country. If they can do that in a brick and mortar, we can at least afford to do that online. Like, come on,
Yeah.
right?
Well, we are at the hour mark, and I should say thank you guys for
Yep.
joining the definitely very educational channel called Debate Hub that looks like the Pornhub
Very
logo.
educational.
Yeah. We have elevated or erect the conversation here, if you will. But all right. I'm a bad person. Nobody should listen to me ever.
Nice.
There wasn't much of a debate, I gotta say. I mean, I think that we were all just debating on how much we actually wanted to say.
Well, I think it's one of those things where I don't think debate has to be like a full-on disagreement. It can be about discussion and nuance. It
agree.
doesn't have to be like everybody shouting at each other and me screaming at Nazis all the time. Dumpster fires are
Yeah.
supposed to happen and occur naturally. You're not supposed to force them. Thank you so much for coming. David, you don't have anything to shill, but his
No, I'm just
his
a random Canadian.
yeah, his fucking blue sky that has no posts
are.
on it is linked in the description if you want to fucking go, I guess. But Dr. Kip, you got some shit going on. What's going on with you? Shill your shit.
Message me.
Saturday's busy. I'm going to be on Dapper Dinosaur with Vish talking more about Bodhi Hodge's terrible book about the Tower of Babel.
Oh, Bodhi.
And yeah, oh Bodhi.
Did you read
That's
it?
always a good time. No, we're reading it. We're reviewing it live, and we've been doing it since like the first week of December. I'm not kidding. It's an
KJV,
astonishingly
get title.
big book. Yeah. Yes, it's on
Remember,
that level.
if it gets too bad, you can always say Jordan Peterson.
Mm.
Fair, yes.
You're gonna bring up
I'm
Jordan
going
Peterson
to
on Dapper stream? You put
invoke
Poor guy.
that on
That's the
Saturday.
safe word.
And then that's right. In the afternoon, I will be on Myth Vision with my friend and colleague, Dr. Josh, talking about, I think we're talking about the Enuma Elish and responding to something that Westhoff, some silly things that Westhoff said recently. So yeah, I think that's that's everything I got going on in the immediate future.
That's cool.
So
So go
I'm
Yeah.
no, I was just going to say I'm catching up on sleep. So
Yeah, do it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to be live here on Saturday talking philosophy. We're going to be talking about skepticism, as well as on Top Hats Off playing Star Trek. I am the producer and the captain and one of the artists between me and Dapper doing all the art. So join us over there. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Go find Kip and Dave in the description down below. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm just going to read off Alicia's comment because I think this is the best comment of the day. And it says, because of the outro tune of Debate Hub,